political risk analyst on Asia, and he joins us now from Taipei. Good to have you back with us, Ross. What do you make of this further easing of China's zero COVID strategy? Is it a further step away from enforcing the regulations and perhaps scrapping the regime altogether?
It's probably not going to be the latter. So, compared to Western countries or most countries or territories here in the Asia region, it looks like China is still going to have a much more strict regime. So, the key words there are still much more, even if some of the restrictions that had previously been in place have been relaxed. And keep in mind that this varies considerably from city to city or province to province because there is a certain element of local government decision making involved. But even if they are relaxing what had been the regime in previous weeks or months or even years, for now, it's still much more strict than what we see in most other places around Asia, where so many of these restrictions, like showing a code or a vaccination proof to enter certain types of businesses, have largely been eliminated.
And do you think that this latest easing of restrictions is a direct result of those unprecedented protests we saw happen last week against the government and these restrictions?
It's certainly a factor. It's pretty clear the government would have obviously preferred a zero COVID approach, and that tens or hundreds of millions of people across China would happily cooperate. Turned out not to be the case. People became frustrated, just like people worldwide who became frustrated with COVID lockdowns or other types of restrictions, especially as vaccination rates increased or other factors changed the risk profile that we look at when we think about what are safe activities, what are safe travel options, what are safe group activities, educational settings, etc. So as authorities around the world got a better understanding of the situation and they adjusted their policies accordingly. Often, especially in the United States, people say that that adjustment has been too slow. Regardless, China is still inconsistent, but they're looking at not only the protests, but what happened or what other countries are doing worldwide. And also, an important factor here is the constant criticism in the international media and specifically the business media, and also obviously from multinational corporations. And they've been very public in their criticisms about how hard this is to do business in China. Can't go there. If you go there, you get stuck there. It's hard to meet suppliers. So the international image or international trade impact is very significant here.
We know that high vaccination rates have been key in terms of the rest of the world opening up and living with COVID-19. What is the rate of vaccination in China at the moment? Do we even know that?
Well, we probably don't know for sure. And the number that is getting a lot of attention in recent days is the relatively low vaccination rates for the elderly. I saw one statistic that said for people over 80, the number who've had boosters might be as low as 40%. And we know that elderly unvaccinated tend to have higher death rates. We see that in Hong Kong, where the elderly do have lower vaccination rates and do make up a lot of the deaths. Chances are it's going to be like the changes in the restrictions. There will be some new regime to increase vaccinations, whether that's very targeted, but with some kind of strict enforcement that if you're not vaccinated, you can't enter certain premises, even forcible vaccinations for certain demographics. And then they'll declare a victory. They'll say our policy works. So that's definitely something to watch for in the coming weeks and months. How do they really, for lack of a better word, force an increase in vaccination rates?
Okay, Ross Feingold, always good to get your analysis. Thank you again for joining us.